Good afternoon. This is my second video today because I am trying to do 30 videos in 30 days. I didn't do one a couple of days ago, so I did one yesterday. I was going to do two, didn't get around to it. I'm doing two today. I'm making up for my lack there. So this is video number 22. So this would be the 22nd day because I'm all caught up with this one. I would just like to point out these I just made this past week. I used water-based and oil-based paints on them. This was one piece going all the way across. I had it I had it supported in the back with wood. That's all. It's all reclaimed wood actually, except the boards themselves. That's masonite that I bought. But this piece was actually connected. I put two boards there, built the whole thing, and then actually with a table saw, I ran this over the table saw. This is all before it was painted. I ran this over the table saw between the two boards. I did it that way because there's actually pieces going across that I cut. So they actually continue from one piece to the other. And then there are these pieces that are high enough up off the boards that I actually had to lower the saw as I pushed it through so that it would clear those pieces. But I did it, it came out all right. Sorry about the phone here. I've found that the best thing to do to foster a sense of consistency and growth is to adopt small habits. And there are a slew of videos on forming good habits and habit stacking, etc. James Clear is real good for that. But once you get into that, or if you just do a search for habits or habit stacking, something along those lines, you'll get a bunch of suggestions. It's something good to look into. And this is not specifically the kind of thing that I want to do. My art is all over the place. But what I want to do is constantly be producing stuff. And it was hard enough just to get to a point where I was starting to produce stuff. I want to be doing it every day, and I'm ramping up to that. And of course, part of that is learning to prioritize and learning to just carve out time and say, okay, this is important, this stuff isn't. I'm either just not going to do it now or I'm never going to do it. And you know, that can be hard. I mean, I've got a lot of interests in life and a lot of things I want to do, and I'm trying to build up my energy, and what I wrote down is a part of that, but there's also developing the mindset to be active and be doing something constructive with whatever enthusiasm, focus, energy I have at that moment, and not get distracted. So I'm learning all that stuff. But what I was concentrating on this morning is developing the consistency and just doing certain things that I know are fundamentally good for any activity. Good nutrition and exercise. Those are two big ones. I'm relatively active every day, and the nutrition one is pretty big with me because I've spent a lot of time on the streets, and I was in the hospital and a nursing home for quite a few weeks. And when you're in those positions, you don't have a choice in what you eat. And surprisingly, when you're in those positions, especially on the street, you can get a lot of calories, but not necessarily a lot of nutrition. And even if you're getting a lot of calories and nutrition, it's not necessarily the best whole foods type of thing that I want to be eating. there's a lot of fat and starch, a lot of meat, and if if you've ever seen a post or a video or anything on the internet where there's an image of somebody who's homeless and they're fat and somebody is commenting on, well, if they can afford to eat that much, you got it completely wrong. Eating well and staying trim is expensive. Getting fat is easy. Getting fat on next to nothing in terms of money is easy because empty calories are cheap. And even your better, like, church style, a lot of churches, a lot of groups. Like here in Miami, you've got people that go down under the bridge in cars and vans and open up the trunk or the doors or whatever and just start pulling out trays and handing them out to people. I mean, I was out there. I've seen it. I was homeless in Clearwater. I was homeless in California, a whole bunch of different places. And everywhere I've ever been, there are people who feed. And except for, like, to use one example, I can't remember what they called themselves, but they were these hippies in Boulder, Colorado. They would actually go to Whole Foods, actually, and they throw out a lot of good stuff there because, you know, if it's a minute over expiration, it might be perfectly good, a sandwich, whatever, but they have to toss it. So these hippies would come over with all this food and feed all the drunks in the park, and that was some good stuff. But the fact is, most of the stuff you find out there on the streets, it's going to be filling, and it's going to be somewhat balanced in general. It's going to be enough nutrition, but it's going to be starchy, and it's going to be fatty, and it's going to be a lot of meat, and it's going to be fattening. So to be able to eat what you want, even if you're going to the cheapest places and getting the cheapest foods, farmer markets, whatever, it's still, of course, more expensive than sitting there under the bridge and waiting for some group to come by and give you a tray. So for me, being able to choose and making healthy choices is huge, because I've been through times a lot where I had no choice. I eat what you give me, and it might taste good and it might be real filling, but it might not be the healthiest selection. The reason I went off on that whole off-script spiel right there was I just wanted to state why it's important to me to be able to eat what I want and not just eat what they give me when I'm hungry. But a couple of things, and also the stuff that I'm going to mention, it's stuff that took a long time for me to develop into, like, this is just something I do every day, practically without thinking. So it's become habit, and now I can use that to develop other habits on top of it. Okay, after I do this, which I do every day, now I will do this. That's what's called habit stacking. You have a certain habit, like whatever, eating breakfast, brushing your teeth, getting out of bed. You know, there are certain things that you do every day pretty much at the same time. If you take those and say, immediately before or immediately after I do this, I'm going to do this, you don't have to think about breakfast. You wake up hungry, you make something to eat, you eat. You do it every day. Okay, what am I going to do on top of that? So now I know. Every day I eat breakfast. Afterwards, I automatically, that's what habit stacking is. But a few of the things that I've been doing, and also on top of them just becoming habits and lending a measure of consistency into my life, I think this is really healthy stuff and helps with the energy levels and everything else that food gives you. You know, your immune system, your whatever neurochemicals are being released when you put something good in your body or are doing something good for yourself. But one of the big things is Salvia hispanica, that's chia seeds. I started doing that quite a while ago, and it's sometimes kind of hard to find and a little bit expensive, but you don't need to eat much every day. And also fish oil pills, and I'm kind of mentioning those together because they both have omega-3 fatty acids in them, which are real good in a number of ways, and it's especially supposed to be good for depression, which I'm not necessarily prone to, but I can fall in bouts of mild depression where I've got enough energy to take care of survival, but I just don't feel like doing anything. And it's not, it's not something that's like chronic or even clinical or anything exceptionally disturbing. But if it happens even just once in a while, it's something. Who wants to deal with that? Nobody does. So there's that. I eat a banana almost every day, mostly for breakfast, or at least first thing in the morning. A lot of times I'll eat a banana and then an hour later make a meal. If I don't eat one first thing in the morning, I mean, a lot of times anymore, I wake up, I'm not even hungry or not that hungry. That's another thing about Salvia hispanica I need to mention. One thing these seeds do when you put them in any kind of a liquid is they turn very mucilaginous. That is supposed to line your stomach. It both makes you want to eat less, and it stalls the absorption of nutrients into the body, so there's no spike, especially of sugar. We all know what a sugar spike is like. You go up and then you come down. There's no spike that's normally associated with eating, and instead there's a gradual increase and longer. So instead of having that spike, you'll go up gradually, and it will plateau off, and it will last longer. I used to, well, especially working, I would just eat a lot, because I've always been thin, and it never seemed to slow me down or hurt me or anything. But I found as I get older, if I eat a lot now, it does slow me down. I'm not getting fatter, but it does slow me down, and I just want to have energy. I want to be active. So there's definitely a lot of positives associated with both of those, the fish oil and the chia seeds. Bananas, of course, they're good for you. A lot of potassium. I eat dark chocolate every day. It's usually like, well, 70% or better in any event. Every time I go somewhere, it's either Walmart or Publix, and every time I go there, they have something different, it seems, and it's anywhere from 70 to 90%, depending on what they're offering and what they're charging. But it's always dark chocolate, and I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but it's supposed to be good for you, and I haven't read anything negative about it, and I just do it every day, and it's just one more thing that I can rely on. This is something I do every day. I can build off this. I'm not, as much as I'd like to be completely spontaneous and not suffer any negative effects from that, I need some structure in my life where I'm just going to be all over the place and maybe get things done, maybe not. So I just wanted to go over at least one other aspect of what I'm doing to try to improve the quality of my life, and at the same time mention that, hey, I'm making art and it's all for sale. And also, I've got these hats for sale. Put a comment, look me up on Facebook. I'm not hard to find. And I guess that's all I really wanted to say. I'm just trying to make 30 videos in 30 days, so basically whatever I throw out there at this point, well, that's good enough. When this is over, I'm going to start paying a little more heed to actually the content that's going into these, do some editing, make them look more like a lot of the other stuff you see on YouTube. But right now, this is what you're getting. So I want to thank you for watching, and if you didn't watch, well then, what's wrong with you, man? All right, talk to you tomorrow.